April 1st, 2010. Gulf of Aden, 0530 hours. A small skiff with 5 armed men cuts through the pre-dawn darkness. They've been at sea for 3 days, hunting, waiting for the right target. Through binoculars, they spot a ship on the horizon. Large, moving slowly. The profile suggests a cargo vessel, exactly what they're looking for. The pirates check their weapons, AK-47's RPG launcher. Livelihood, their survival. In Somalia, there are no jobs, no fishing, just piracy. They accelerate toward the ship. 500 meters, 400 meters, 300 meters. And then they see it clearly for the first time. It's not a cargo ship. It's the USS Nicolessa guided missile frigate, a warship, and it's pointing directly at them. For the next 5 seconds, these pirates make a choice that will define the rest of their lives, or end them. They open fire. This is the story of what happens when pirates choose the wrong target. The calculated response of the US Navy to asymmetric threats, and the tragic desperation that drives men to attack the most powerful military on Earth, with nothing but small arms and hope. To understand how pirates ended up attacking US warships, you need to understand modern piracy. Piracy isn't new. For as long as ships have sailed, pirates have attacked them. But modern piracy, particularly off the coast of Somalia, is different. It's organized, professional, and driven by economic collapse. Somalia has been a failed state since 1991. No functioning government, no police, no coast guard, just warlords, militias, and desperate people trying to survive. In the 1980s and 90s, Somali fishermen made their living from the sea. But after the government collapsed, foreign fishing trawlers from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East began illegal fishing in Somali waters. They decimated fish stocks, destroyed livelihoods. At the same time, ships began dumping toxic waste off the Somali coast. Barrels of radioactive material, industrial chemicals. It poisoned the water, killed the remaining fish. The fishermen had a choice, starve or adapt. The fishermen had a choice, starve or adapt. They adapted. They became pirates. It started small. Fishermen would approach foreign vessels and demand fishing licenses, basically bribes to leave Somali waters. But then they realized something. Ransom pays better than fishing ever did. By 2008, Somali piracy had become a multi-million-dollar industry. Organized criminal networks coordinated attacks. They used fast skiffs, GPS, satellite phones, and intelligence networks to identify high-value targets. The tactics were simple. Step 1. Identify a vulnerable ship, usually a slow-moving cargo vessel or tanker. Step 2. Approach in fast skiffs, often launching from a larger mothership far from shore. Step 3. Board the vessel using grappling hooks and ladders. Step 4. Take the crew hostage and sail the ship to Somali waters. Step 5. Negotiate ransom, often $1 to $5 million per ship. And it worked. Between 2008 and 2011, Somali pirates hijacked over 150 ships and collected an estimated $400 million in ransom. The international community responded by deploying naval forces to the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean. Combined Task Force 151, a coalition of navies from the US, EU, NATO, China, Russia, India, and others, began escorting commercial vessels and patrolling known piracy routes. But here's the problem. The ocean is vast. Monitoring every square mile is impossible. And pirates are patient. They wait for gaps in coverage. They exploit weaknesses. And sometimes they make catastrophic mistakes. like attacking a warship. Before we get to the warship attacks, we need to talk about the Maersk, Alabama. April 8, 2009. The Maersk, Alabama, US-flagged cargo ship is transiting the Indian Ocean en route to Mombasa, Kenya, carrying humanitarian aid for Somali pirates in a skiff approach and board the vessel. The crew fights back, capturing one pirate, but the other three take Captain Richard Phillips hostage and escape in a lifeboat. For the next 5 days, the world watches as the US Navy surrounds the lifeboat. Navy SEALs from Dev Grisel, Team 6 deploy aboard the USS Bainbridge. On April 12th, Navy snipers simultaneously kill 3 pirates with headshots from the deck of a moving ship at dusk in rough seas. Captain Phillips is rescued unharmed. The incident becomes a global sensation. A movie is made, Captain Phillips, starring Tom Hanks. Somali pirates become household names. But the most important impact is tactical. The US Navy establishes new rules of engagement for piracy. If American lives are at risk, the response will be lethal and immediate. No negotiation, no hesitation, and pirates take note. Most pirates are rational actors. They're criminals, not terrorists. They want money, not martyrdom. Attacking a US-flagged vessel means SEALs, snipers, and body bags. It's bad business. So after Maersk, Alabama, most pirates avoid American ships. But some don't get the memo, or they're desperate enough not to care. And some make an even worse mistake. They target US military vessels. April 1st, 2010. 0530 hours. Gulf of Aden, the USS Nicolessa Reclus, guided missile frigates, conducting anti-piracy operations as part of Combined Task Force 151. The ship is equipped with 76mm rapid-fire naval gun, 20mm phalanx close-in weapon system, .50 caliber machine guns, SH-60 Seahawk helicopter with door-mounted miniguns. The crew of 215 sailors is alert. They've been in the region for 3 weeks, escorting commercial vessels and investigating suspected pirate activity. At 0530, radar picks up a small contact. Range for miles. Speed 35 knots, heading directly toward the Nicholas. This is unusual. Most small boats in the region are fishing vessels. They move slowly, erratically. This contact is fast, deliberate. The officer of the deck alerts the captain. "Skipper, we have a high-speed contact closing on our position. Possible pirate skiff." Captain Mark Jennings arrives on the bridge. Sound general quarters. Man all defensive stations. Within minutes, the ship is at battle stations. Gunners man the .50 caliber machine guns on deck. The phalanx system powers up. The helicopter crew preps for launch. At 0532, the skiff closes to 2 miles. Through binoculars, the watch officer can see 5 men aboard. They're armed, AK-47s visible. One man is holding what appears to be an RPG launcher. "Captain, contacts are armed and continuing to close. Request permission to issue warning." Granted. Activate the LRAD. The long-range acoustic device LRADIs, a powerful speaker system that can project sound over a mile. It's used for non-lethal warnings. A voice booms across the water in Somali and English. "Attention, small boat. You are approaching a United States warship. Alter your course immediately, or you will be fired upon. This is your only warning." The skiff doesn't slow. It doesn't turn. It keeps coming. At 0534, the pirates open fire. The sound of AK-47 gunfire cracks across the water. Rounds splash into the ocean near the Nicholas. One bullet ricochets off the ship's hull. And in that moment, the pirates seal their fate. The moment the first shot is fired, Captain Jenin gives the order. Weapons free, disable that vessel. The .50 caliber machine guns on the Nicholas's deck open up. The deep thump 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 of heavy machine gun fire echoes across the water. 50 caliber rounds each, 1/2 an inch in diameter, weighing nearly 2 ounces stare through the pirate's skiff. The fiberglass hull disintegrates. The engine explodes in a cloud of smoke and flame. Within 10 seconds, the skiff is dead in the water, sinking. The pirates scramble. One jumps overboard. The others raise their hands in surrender. But the Nicholas isn't done. The SH-60 helicopter launches, door gunner leaning out with an M240 machine gun. It circles the sinking skiff, ensuring no one is still armed, no one is trying to escape. A rigid-hull inflatable boatar HIBD ploys from the Nicholas, crewed by armed sailors. They approach the wreckage cautiously, weapons trained, ready. Within minutes, all 5 pirates are detained, hands zip-tied behind their backs. Weapons confiscated. They're brought aboard the Nicholas and held in the ship's brig. The entire engagement lasts less than 5 minutes. From first radar contact to detainment, 9 minutes. This is the reality of attacking a US warship. You don't get a firefight. You don't get a dramatic showdown. You get overwhelming, immediate, and professional application of lethal force. The pirates aboard the Nicholas are eventually transferred to US custody, flown to Norfolk, Virginia, and prosecuted in federal court. They receive sentences ranging from 7 to 15 years in prison. But here's the question. Why did they attack a warship in the first place? Were they inexperienced? Did they mistake the Nicholas for a cargo ship? Or were they so desperate that it didn't matter? Investigators later pieced together the story. The pirates had been at sea for days without finding a suitable target. They were running out of fuel, out of food. And in the pre-dawn darkness, they misidentified the Nicholas as a slower, less defended vessel. By the time they realized their mistake, they were too close to retreat. Pride, desperation, or panic something made them decide to fire anyway. It was the worst decision of their lives. The USS Nicholas incident wasn't isolated. 2 weeks later, on April 10, 2010, the USS Ashlandan, amphibious dock landing ship, has its own encounter with pirates. The Ashland is transiting the Gulf of Aden when radar detects a suspicious contact. A small boat, moving erratically, approximately 6 miles away. The Ashland alters course to investigate. As it approaches, sailors observe a Dowa traditional wooden sailing vessel common in the region. But this dhow is behaving unusually. It's towing a skiff, and there are multiple armed men visible on deck. The Ashland broadcasts warnings. No response. Then, the dhow releases the skiff. The skiff accelerates toward the Ashland. At 1,200 yards, the pirates open fire. Small arms fire. Tracer rounds visible in the daylight. The Ashland's response is immediate. The ship's .50 caliber guns return fire. The skiff's engine is hit. It begins to smoke, then catches fire. The pirates jump overboard. The Ashland launches ARHIB to detain them. But when the US sailors board the dhow, they discover something disturbing. Hostages. 6 Yemeni fishermen tied up in the hold. They'd been held captive for days, forced to navigate for the pirates. The pirates had been using the dhow as a mothership, a mobile base from which to launch attacks. And they'd been planning to use the fishermen as human shields if confronted by naval forces. This is the darker side of piracy. It's not Robin Hood. It's not desperate fishermen trying to survive. It's organized crime, kidnapping, violence. The 6 pirates are detained. The hostages are freed and given medical care. The dhow is scuttle destroyed, so it can't be used again. And once again, the message is sent. Attacking US military vessels is suicide. Now, here's where the story gets interesting and murky. There are unconfirmed reports, never officially acknowledged by the US Navy, of pirates attempting to approach an aircraft carrier strike group in the Indian Ocean. According to multiple naval sources and regional maritime security reports from 2010-2011, a group of Somali pirates in multiple skiffs approached what they believed to be a cluster of cargo vessels on the horizon. What they actually approached was a US carrier battle group conducting a replenishment tatsi, Operation Multiple Ships, sailing in formation, transferring fuel and supplies. The account goes like this. The pirates closed to within 10 miles before realizing their mistake. One of the cargo ships is actually a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, 1,092 feet long, bristling with aircraft radar systems and defensive weapons. They immediately turn and flee at maximum speed. But it's too late. They've been detected. An SH-60 helicopter launches from one of the destroyers. It reaches the fleeing skiffs in under 3 minutes. The door gunner leans out, minigun trained on the boats below. A loudspeaker blares. Stop your engines. Raise your hands. This is the United States Navy. The pirates comply immediately. Engines off, hands up. They know what happens if they don't. ARHIB security team intercepts them. The pirates are detained, their weapons confiscated, their skiffs disabled. But here's the twist. The Navy doesn't arrest them, because international maritime law is complicated. Pirates can only be prosecuted if they commit an act of piracy, hijacking a ship, taking hostages, or firing weapons. Merely possessing weapons in international waters isn't enough. And since the pirates didn't actually attack the carrier group, they turned and fled. There's no prosecutable offense. So the Navy does something else. They confiscate the pirates' weapons, their GPS, their fuel, their water. They disable the skiff's engines, and then they leave them adrift. It's called catch and release, and it's a death sentence. Without engines, without navigation, without supplies, the pirates are stranded hundreds of miles from shore. They might drift for days. Maybe they'll be picked up by a passing ship. Maybe they won't. This version of the story has never been officially confirmed. The US Navy doesn't comment on specific tactical operations, but it's been corroborated by multiple independent sources, including maritime security analysts and regional Coast Guard officials. And it illustrates a harsh reality. When pirates encounter a US carrier battle group, they have 2 options. Option 1, surrender immediately. Option 2, die. There is no option 3. So why do pirates keep attacking naval vessels, even after incidents like the Nicholas and Ashland? The answer is tragic. Desperation. Piracy isn't a career choice. It's a survival strategy in one of the poorest, most unstable regions on Earth. The average Somali pirate is a young man usually between 18 and 35, with no education, no job prospects, and a family to feed. Somalia has a 75% unemployment rate. The average income is less than $500 per year. A successful piracy operation can net $20,000 to $50,000 per pirate, more than they'd earn in a lifetime of legitimate work, if such work even existed. So they take the risk, even though they know US and European warships patrol the area, even though they know capture means years in prison, even though they know firing on a warship means death, because the alternative, watching their families starve, is worse. This doesn't excuse piracy. It doesn't justify it. But it explains it. And it explains why, even after highly publicized incidents, pirates continue to operate, though the numbers have dropped dramatically. In 2011, there were 237 piracy incidents off the coast of Somalia. By 2015, that number had dropped to 17. By 2020, single digits. The reason: sustained international naval presence, armed security teams on commercial vessels, and the simple calculus: piracy is no longer profitable enough to justify the risk. But piracy hasn't disappeared. It's migrated to Southeast Asia, to West Africa, to new regions where naval presence is weaker and enforcement is inconsistent. The tactics remain the same. The targets remain the same. And occasionally, someone still makes the fatal mistake of choosing the wrong ship. There's an old saying among pirates: never attack a ship that can fight back. It's practical advice. Pirates survive by targeting the weak, the slow, the undefended. They're predators looking for prey, not opponents. But sometimes, in the desperation of poverty, the chaos of failed states, and the fog of sea navigation, mistakes happen. A warship is mistaken for a cargo vessel. A desperate crew decides to attack anyway. Pride or panic overrides common sense. And when that happens, the response is swift, professional, and final. The US Navy doesn't negotiate with pirates. It doesn't play games. It follows rules of engagement designed to protect American forces while minimizing loss of life. But those rules are clear. Fire on a US warship and you will be neutralized immediately. The pirates who attacked the USS Nicholas learned this lesson. 5 men in a skiff with AK-47s versus a guided missile frigate. The outcome was never in doubt. Some were lucky. They surrendered, served their time, and lived to tell the story. Others weren't. They're lost at sea, nameless casualties of a conflict between desperation and overwhelming military force. This is the reality of modern piracy. It's not romantic. It's not adventurous. It's poor men with guns, making terrible choices, and facing consequences they can't escape. And it's a reminder that in the vast, lawless expanse of the ocean, there are still rules. And those rules are enforced by ships so powerful, so advanced, and so lethal that attacking them is suicide. They chose the wrong ship, and they paid the price.